We hope you're enjoying this episode of Inject Creativity Live with Tim Kitchen and Erin Raethke.
And welcome to part 2 of the Inject Creativity Live show, being recorded on the 23rd of March, 2022. I'm Tim Kitchen.
And I'm Erin Raethke. So during part 1 of this episode, we had a great demo from Adobe education leader Adrian Bruch about the way you can use Photoshop to color illustrations and transform graphics using neural filters.
In the second part of this episode, we'll soon be enjoying a thought leadership segment from Peter Hutton from Future Schools.
You're watching Inject Creativity Live with Tim Kitchen and Erin Raethke.
Erin, I'm going to be in Brisbane. I'm going to be in your part of the world very soon for the Australian Computer Society Foundation's Big Day In event at the University of Queensland on April 21. It's going to involve close to 400 K-12 students.
And while Tim's in Brisbane, the Australian Computer Society are making the most of his trip by organising a special free and all-day professional learning event for educators on Wednesday, April 20th.
After getting lots of requests, the Australian Computer Society have announced that this will now be a hybrid event, both face-to-face and online.
So now anyone that can get involved, and you can find out more and register using the link adobe.ly/ACS-20 April 22.
It's going to be great to be back in Brisbane again and back face-to-face with Queensland teachers.
And a part of this day will also go towards level 1 of the Adobe Creative Educator program. So please get involved and share it with your colleagues, whether or not you live around Brisbane.
We hope you're enjoying this episode of Inject Creativity Live with Tim Kitchen and Erin Raethke.
During the Term 1 Creative Challenges with New South Wales and Victorian students, we've been partnering with Phantom, a small startup company that's promoting alternatives to plastic to help the environment.
Here's one of the videos that was made by Kushal, Lucas and Tim from Wellington Secondary College, where AEL Janine Watt teaches.
Hello, today I am here to talk about Phantom and what they do to help reduce plastics around the world. Phantom is a company that is concerned about this issue and has taken action to solve it. How a world where plastic wood doesn't exist would look like. 8.3 billion tons of plastic wouldn't be lying around our planet. 100,000 marine sea life wouldn't be dying annually. 5 trillion pieces of plastic wouldn't be roaming the oceans. There are countless environment-friendly materials and resources that our world could be utilizing. This helps to lower the plastic usage, thereby avoiding landfills. These eco-friendly substitutions include mushrooms, bamboo, seaweed, sugarcane, mulch, hemp, and many more. All of these materials are biodegradable and would solve the problem of extreme amounts of plastic usage. To replace plastic disposal, we can change packaging for companies to be completely edible for animals. For example, bamboo edible packaging could be consumed by pandas after they are used. We could remove the harmful elements from the packaging. In the near future, we must follow these rules to keep our planet healthy and put an end to global warming.
Isn't that lovely? Just to see those students and the way they were able to share their voice in a creative way using Adobe Creative Cloud Express.
And the thoughtful way they approached it as well. It was really, really brilliant.
Yeah, I was really, really proud to see that and to see so many examples of students' work when we do these creativity challenges. Now, instead of running the creativity challenges for Victoria and New South Wales Year 5 to 9 students, in Term 2, we're encouraging, in fact, as of now, not just wait until term 2, we're actually encouraging all students from year 5 to year 12 and who are in the Asia Pacific region, and in particular focus on Southeast Asia and Australia and New Zealand, to take part in the Regeneration International short film competition.
And Tim and Rob put this together, this clip, to share more.
Hi folks, I'm Tim from Adobe.
And I'm Rob the Robot.
Get your cameras, microphones, tripods
and Adobe apps ready for the
Regeneration International short film competition with Adobe. This competition is part of the 2022 Regeneration Youth Festival, which is focused on building a resilient and empowered future.
Tim, what do the students need to do to enter this competition?
Good question, Rob. The students need to organise a small group of preferably 3 to 5 and plan, film and edit a short film that goes for between 1 and 2 minutes based on the theme of building resilience and empowerment for creating the world we all wish to live in, with a focus on sustainability and a reference to at least one of the United Nations Sustainability Development Goals.
Can it be an animation?
Sure can, Rob.
What about a mix of real life like me and animation like you?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, what do you mean like an animation like me? I mean, you're the animation in our relationship. There are 2 main age categories for this film competition. Years 5 to 9 students, about aged 10 to 14, and years 10 to 12 students, about aged 15 to 18. Winning entries from each section will be showcased at the Regeneration Festival on Friday the 3rd of June at the Immigration Museum in Melbourne and live streamed out to those who live outside of Melbourne. The films, or animations, need to be edited with at least one of the following Adobe products: the new Creative Cloud Express, formerly known as Adobe Spark,
which is free for all schools;
Adobe Premiere Rush,
which is also free for all schools;
Adobe Animate, which is part of the Adobe Creative Cloud and available in most schools;
Premiere Pro, the ultimate video editing solution used by professionals and also available in most schools;
After Effects, which is also a full-on professional editing and video compositing tool;
my all-time favourite Adobe tool, Character Animator, for real-time animation. I don't know where I'd be without Adobe Character Animator.
You could even use Adobe Photoshop to help make your film or animation. A list of all the criteria and other information about how to enter can be found via this QR code. Take careful note that the registration form needs to be completed by a teacher, and all registrations need to be in by Friday the 15th of April. The films and animations need to be submitted before Friday the 13th of May to allow the international panel of judges time to select which films will be showcased at the festival.
Get involved in the Regeneration International short film competition with Adobe.
And share how we can create the world in which we all wish to live in.
Hi folks, well it's now time to welcome our education thought leader for their 5-minute gem to inspire us and make us think more deeply about the importance of our role as educators.
There we go, Peter. I just forgot you didn't have headphones on, which is why we had that little bit of an audio blip just then. It is a delight to welcome you back to the show and to find out what you have to share with us with your thought piece. So over to you, Peter.
Thanks very much, Tim and Erin. If there's any glitches in this video, we can thank Elon Musk because I've swapped across to Starlink. I'd like to just spend a little time today challenging an assumption that we often hold as educators, and worldview and mindset in regards to who we are. Many times when you talk to an educator, a teacher, we define ourselves by the role that we hold at a particular time and perhaps even the school that we're at. Whereas I'd like to ask you to consider whether we shouldn't consider ourselves first as our own self-actualizing educator who happens to be at a particular school and happens to be holding a particular role at the time. And I know that sounds a little bit like semantics, but so often we feel like we're actually owned by a school, and indeed that sometimes we're constrained by that school. And really those constraints only exist in our own minds. So I just wanted to think of 3 potential ways where education or educators could challenge that assumption. The first thing is I'd strongly encourage you to think of yourself as owning your career. And whilst you might be in a particular role, it doesn't mean that you have to confine yourself to that role, even within your own school. So I know one thing that we encourage many educators to do is to form a strong association with somebody who's in a role that you would like to ultimately move into. So you might be a head of house, but you would like to round out your career by perhaps moving into a head of teaching and learning role. So even though your role is in a pastoral care sense, there's nothing confining you from spending a lot of time asking for mentoring from somebody who's currently in that teaching. Likewise, if you're wanting to continue to move through the hierarchy within schools, if we have hierarchy or organisational structure, I would strongly encourage you, if you've got a good relationship with the business manager, to ask if you can be involved in the budgetary process and in the financial running of the school. Now, some business managers might be slightly reluctant, or they might, try and block you and say, look, that's really not something that you're required to do. It's outside your scope. But if you're going to move through the profession, finances is one thing that really will potentially hold you back. So I'd encourage you to look towards some other positions within your school, or if your business manager, for instance, won't talk to you, can you through a colleague perhaps work through another businessman to get that finance? If your head of teaching and learning won't support you in growing your skills, can you do that through somebody else? Now, that might seem a little strange because you go, well, they're not part of my school. But if you go back to the central premise of looking at mindset and not feeling like you're held by your particular school, you can reach out. The other thing is I'd strongly encourage you to consider running your own passion project. And what I mean by that, like, I'm not talking a passion project necessarily that's outside education, but indeed your own passion project within education. It might be within your current role, but it could extend into something where you're wanting to develop expertise. I would also suggest that it's something that you take control of managing. You might be part of a team, but if you can lead that project and you can have pre-data and post-data, that will be enormously positive if and when you apply for the next position that you want to hold. I think doing a passion project that's outside your immediate role really shows that you're part of the broader profession and you haven't confined yourself within a box. The final thing that I would like to say is, sometimes within schools, we can always feel like we might want to be innovative. We might want to adopt more future-focused practices, but we feel like it's always somebody else that has to permission us. We have to get permission from the head of teaching and learning. We have to get permission by the person overseeing pastoral care. I would strongly encourage every educator listening to this today to look at your sphere of influence and say, how can I really start pushing the boundaries of my current role? Sometimes I talk about being comfortable dancing in the grey. So inevitably when we have rules that we're required to follow, and that could be policies at school, it could be regulations that the government set, there's clearly black and white, but there's always grey space that can be exploited. And I would encourage all educators out there that rather than feeling done to, I would really encourage you to try and explore the grey space and really extend your influence right up to the maximum extent. Nobody is talking about being non-compliant or doing things that are illegal or immoral or any of those sort of things, but where there's grey space, fully exploit that. And if we were all to do that, we certainly would be making far greater progress in terms of education reform and the transformation of education. And that's what I wanted to share with you today.
Peter, such wise words from a man who's lived it, who's walked it. He has been a principal, he's run a school, he's been a teacher before that too, and he's written a book about it too, which we're looking forward to reading. In fact, Peter, I can almost guarantee you now that I'm going to be buying multiple copies of that book to give to our leadership team, our Adobe education leaders, and use it as prizes and so on. But Peter, just want to make sure everyone's aware that you have lived and breathed this. And this is life experience that you should really take seriously, particularly, I was going to say a young teacher, but a teacher at any stage of your career. And I wish I had taken that sort of advice when I was just starting out. And I think I would have really benefited from it right throughout my career. Peter, you're going to be back with us again on the 14th of September. So there's a bit of a gap between now and then. In that time, though, last time you joined us, you talked about a new school that you were establishing in Melbourne. Can you just give us a quick little summary about how that's going?
Certainly, Tim. We've actually decided to move it away from something called a school to a learning hub, and these are going to be in the latest, imaginings that we have, because we're co-constructing this, co-creating this with broader educators, with parents, with students, with business, with philanthropists, etc. We're actually looking at having smaller learning hubs of approximately 75 students each. And each of those hubs will probably have an approximate 3-year age range. So it might be from 16 to 18, from 12 to 15, from 10 to 12. So a little bit of an overlap there. And each of those hubs will have a special focus. So one of the ones that we're first exploring is for entrepreneurship and social impact. So for young people who perhaps are not feeling fully engaged in their education, or they're not necessarily seeing a clear purpose and meaning to their education, we'll have a hub of approximately 75 people in the city that the young people will actually fully manage under the supervision of adult educators, but they will fully manage that learning hub of a community of 75 young people and 3 or 4 educators, exploring and practicing entrepreneurial skills and projects that have significant social impact. So that's where we are at the moment. And fingers crossed, we're getting down to the wire for opening in 2023, but we're certainly hopeful of that.
I'm so pleased that you are still dancing in the grey and inspiring so many, which is great, Peter. And do keep Adobe in mind. We'd love to be able to support in any way possible with the programs that we're running as well. But we'll look forward to finding out more on September the 14th when you're back with us again.
Thanks so much, Tim.
You're watching Inject Creativity Live with Tim Kitchen and Erin Raethke.
We have a special announcement for Victorian teachers.
Adobe and Microsoft are running a series of events in the Victorian schools this year called Digital Skills Days.
During the day, the host schools will be enjoying a series of workshop events with students.
After school, teachers from the host school, as well as any educator in Victoria who lives within the region of the host school, is welcome to take part in a special professional learning event with Microsoft and Adobe. Look up Adobe. Jinx. I was going to say, look up adobe.ly digiskills-vic-22 to find out host school locations and dates.
We hope you're enjoying this episode of Inject Creativity Live with Tim Kitchen and Erin Raethke.
Victorian and New South Wales students in years 9 to 12, as well as any teacher from anywhere, are invited to register for a special 2.5-day Adobe Premiere Pro workshop during the Easter holidays.
This is a great opportunity to spend quality time learning a great industry standard application.
This is a free and online intensive workshop that will also involve prizes for some lucky students. So look up
Sorry, caught my breath for a second. Look up adobe.ly/video-workshop22 to find out more about the Adobe Holiday Video Challenge workshop, which is being held by Dr. Tim Kitchen from Adobe, and will be on April 11 to 14 during the Easter holidays.
You're watching Inject Creativity Live with Tim Kitchen and Erin Raethke.
If you're on Facebook and you're not already a member of the Australasian Adobe Education Community Facebook group, please join via facebook.com/groups/AUSAEL.
Join us and keep regularly involved with Adobe in education and the wider community.
If you are already on this Facebook group, you would have already received the March edition of the Australasian Adobe in Education newsletter.
Packed with lots of great news about upcoming events and current resources, this is a newsletter not to be missed. Tim, can you give us a quick preview?
A very quick preview, Erin. I know that it's going out much wider over the next couple of days, so if you haven't got it, you'll probably get it. But if you want to see it in advance, you can go to timkitchen.net, and Jerry's very kindly put that link in. It's the most recent thing on timkitchen.net. And there's a plug for the new film competition that we mentioned earlier. We now have these little buttons that allow you to anchor through to different parts of the newsletter to make it a little bit easier to navigate to and from.
Always helpful.
Always helpful. Yeah, Adobe Teach Meets program we're promoting here. The Brisbane event that we mentioned is here. We've got Make It coming up. Again, for those of you who are available in Melbourne and Sydney, on the 5th of April and on the 6th of April. It's during the day, so it's not really great for teachers who are teaching, but if you happen to be an administrator or you have some time free, they're wonderful events to find out. It's like having a little mini Max for Adobe in your own city, if you're in Melbourne or Sydney. Of course, the Premier Pro Intensive is advertised. We are involved in the National Education Summit in Melbourne and Brisbane, and Adrian Bruch is going to be there as well in Brisbane, so I'm looking forward to catching up with him. EduTech is happening later in the year. We've got some information about that. The education program. Of course, this show, we promote this whenever we can, and the events that are happening throughout New South Wales and Victoria, including that new Digi Skills event. Really looking forward to seeing that. We can see 3 schools have already put their hands up, and another one put their hand up today, so we'll be adding that to the list today, and we're hoping to have about 10 of these events between now and the end of the year. And then the rest of it is focused on some really practical resources from the Adobe Education Exchange and some blog posts, lots of really terrific information there. So get involved and look up timkitchen.net, or wait until you get your email to get the newsletter in your email box. I think we're just about winding things up. Let's bring our guests back up, and Jerry as well to the screen to do our farewell. And our next Inject Creativity Live event will actually be on a Thursday this time, on Thursday the 7th of April.
Adobe Education Leader Mark Wazowski from New South Wales will be our AEL presenter, and our thought leader will be the wonderful Juliet Bentley, Adobe Master Teacher for APAC.
For those watching the recording of this episode, join us live if you can in the future. It's always much more fun and interactive when you're live.
And for those watching live, get ready to move to adobe.ly/edu-meet-APAC for our brief fireside chat, and we will see you all at the next episode.
Special thank you to Jerry and Erin for helping to put this show together.
And a very special thank you to Adrian and Peter for their contributions during this episode.
Any final parting words of wisdom from our guests? Adrian, over to you.
Have fun. Be creative. Enjoy.
And Peter.
I really like the segment that Adrian presented. I'm just wondering if Adobe could do one of those facial manipulation things, because I'm told that I have resting angry face. So I would like some real-time adjustment if that's at all possible.
Anything's possible. We might need to get it ready for your book. Well, it's probably too late now. You've probably got your picture there already. But Peter, thank you again for sharing, and Adrian, and we're looking forward to helping you promote that book and all the exciting things that are happening in your world. Thanks again, everyone. Rob the Robot's going to sign things off as we wave goodbye. We'll see you at the next one. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you for watching this episode of Inject Creativity Live. For those who are watching live, join us now via adobe.ly/edu-meet-APAC for an informal, non-recorded fireside chat to meet and interact with our presenters and other audience members. During this informal chat, you will be able to complete the feedback form and apply for a professional development certificate. If you are not watching this live, join us live next time. Use this QR code or link to find out about dates and topics. And use this QR code and link to find out about other Adobe in Education professional learning opportunities. On behalf of the Adobe in Education team, keep being creative.